Yes.
Welcome back,
So,
everybody, to Legendary Tales. The sound is working at the first try. What the heck? I don't have any music playing. Oh, there is music playing. I just haven't heard it. All right. Why doesn't Lorsha give us a recap, please? Just a quick and easy one.
Last session we played D&D. You're welcome. We started off in the Drowning Pool, which was the prison in the other place.
The Toad.
The Toad, that's right. We found 4 dwarves, and we paid 100 gold pieces each to free them. One of which was a dreadlocked female dwarf who we suspected we were looking for. We took the dwarves to a ship-looking tavern called the Golden Molar. It was very fancy, velvet curtains, all the works. We spent way too much money on food. While we were there, Casimir and Bolo came because I called them with the sending stone. They caused a ruckus outside. We brought them inside. We told them what was going on. We decided to take all the dwarves back to the war bands. So we did that. While we're in the war bands, a technician and Orak went to the forge, or we're supposed to go to the forge. I introduced the dwarves to Stanislava, and we learned that these dwarves specifically are apparently earthbenders, and that Vashim can do temper bending. Vashim being the warforged, sorry, the soulforged. We arranged for them to get some clothes. Me and technician went to talk to Rustus. We formed a plan while we were there to try to go get the giant ball of temper that we found when we were in the tunnels near Daha Kohen. I got 2 ingots of temper. The technician picked up 3. Technician used his 3 for a reason that we'll learn today, I believe. And I went and hung out with Vidar and learned that Vidar got to see how he was made. He got to see Farald building him. And me, Vidar, and Callum were having some fun conversations in Stanislava's tent, eating some food, and that is where we left off just a
Yep. That is where we left off. So, all of you get together after the couple days it takes Technician and Orak to make the Spyglass. And you have that little case. Technician, did you put that in your bag of holding, or what did you do?
I
Where is
think
it?
I was just holding it with like my person.
You do, okay. So you do have it, and you all
Yes.
go. You all go to the big tent. Sabas meets up with you after a little while. In a brand new set of like spider silk clothing that has been dyed and mended, and literally it just looks way better than her ratty cave-in clothes. I assume that your like work clothes are not exactly
yeah.
the
No,
best.
they were very much, mending can only go so far. They've been worn and torn. She's now wearing proper spider silk shit.
Okay.
I
And
can get snake leather with it.
she meets up with you guys at the big tent. Rostis is not there. Stanislava is there. I cannot remember the Soul Seer's name. What? Kuzma Suterica is there. So Kuzma, Stanislava, and all of you are there. Basically, she got all of you together. Casimir, Bolo is not currently anywhere at the moment. You don't know where Bolo is. Let me go ahead and hide him real quick. Prince Zarek and his girlfriend Solson are both in the big tent, sort of hanging out with Stanislava, considering that the prince is the leader of the refugees, and there's like a large refugee population on the coast, on the northwest or northeast coast. The refugees of the continent that exploded, which I actually don't remember the name of right now. It is Nilhund. Nilhund exploded, and all the refugees are in the northeast section. So you have the big tent right in the middle. Then you have like a big round like area that they've cordoned off for everybody. Rustis is on like the west side, the far west side. The refugees and Zarek is sort of having a conversation as all of you sort of walk in early morning on the 5th day that you guys are here. Casimir is also with you, but Bolo is nowhere to be found. What are you guys doing? Is anyone going to say anything first, or?
Were Vidar and Loershik already in the big tent, and technician comes?
This is the day after that. After you have your vision, after you and Loershik hang out and have your little moment together. After technician has finished his thing, he goes and talks to the refugees probably for the rest of the day. The next morning, all of you show up at the big tent together. And then also, I'm messaging you, technician. Okay. Is anyone doing anything specific when you go into the tent?
Have I eaten breakfast?
No, they are serving breakfast in the big tent for all of the representatives and things.
I work up an appetite because I was getting picked on by two jerks last night, and Vidar is kind of eccentric with his stories, so my brain's still kind of processing this whole he got to see himself get conceived thing. So I grabbed 2 plates and I kind of like balance them on my arm, and I'm just loading it up with all the carbs and all the meat that I possibly can, because I'm a hungry boy today.
Okay. Sabas, are you doing anything specific?
Following Lavertier's example, but in a slightly smaller scale. I was
Probably.
not harassed last night. I was not harassed last night, and I probably
You
probably don't need 2 plates. I do. Well, I will have 1 plate that is far larger than any normal person should eat. However, it is 1.
Yeah. You probably slept better than you've ever slept in your entire life.
This is moderation for once in my life.
Vidar, what are you doing as you get into the big tent?
Mostly keeping an eye out for a technician, because I believe we would have known that he was off building things, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, keeping an eye out for him, but also noting, Loershik, you have things other than meat on your plate. Are you okay?
I've come to find that the meat is filling, but it makes me feel very heavy. So I can add some like potatoes in there. It tastes just as good sometimes. Has to be seasoned properly. I'm trying new things, okay? Gotta try new things, Vidar.
He's discovering cooking. What can I say?
Casimir just walks over with like a giant leg of a literal like hog, and he's just like chewing on it, like pulling whole pieces off and eating it. One day you will become a man, Loershik. And he sort of like pats you on the back. One of these days you will realize that there is something other than meat. And he looks around for a second.
Did he pat me hard enough to where my plates fall off my arm?
No, not at all.
Thank goodness.
He at least respects that. Yeah. And he just sort of sits next to you. And technician, you're the last one in. I assume you have your box under your arm, and then you're looking over your notes from all your you're looking over your notes from talking to the refugees yesterday, and you look at one of them specifically, and for a moment, all of you sort of look in because he always comes in and goes, hello. And this is like the first time ever he walks in and he doesn't say that. He's just looking in a book. And then all of a sudden you look up and all of you see his eyes go the color of temper and like do that. You know that like, it's like an effect where it sort of rushes off in like computer circuits, like that cool effect where it just sort of circles out. But it does that all over his body, and he sits there for a moment, and all of you recognize exactly what's happening. So, technician, I need you to do me a favor and say hi or low, please. Just for the first thing.
Hi.
Okay, so go and roll me D100, please. Okay. You're sort of looking, and for a moment you see a bunch of memories wash over you. They come over you about Illisan, and you're sort of sitting you're sitting with your body laying down on a sort of work table, and you're laying and your head sort of turns to the side, and you're looking at the Ilisan talk to a very pretty female dark elf, and he's sort of talking to her, and she's crying. And this is the moment that Technician learns whether or not he has empathy. Okay, here's how this is going to work. There are varying degrees of empathy and varying degrees of whether or not you have them. Okay? So as you're sitting there looking at this woman and this man interact with each other, you're sort of trying to figure out what exactly they're doing. And Ilisan is saying, oh, I'm sorry for you. And like you're trying to gauge on whether or not it's sympathy or empathy. And you're realizing that he is saying, I've been there before. I've done this. And it was something like her dad basically, her dad died. And she's trying to deal with it. And she came to Ilisan for this. So this is your first experience and only experience with empathy. So, Technician, will you do me a favor, please, and make an insight check? You are not picking up on it at all. Loershik, Sabis, and Vidar. Loershik, what are you doing when you see him? Because you've seen him do this before, and this is when he learned his sense of humor and what was the other one? His lack of need to investigating everything. His lack of puzzle solving. What are you doing when he like stands up and looks straight forward?
I look over at him and just kind of shake my head and look down at my meal again and say, I hope this time it's better than a volume knob.
Vidar, what are you doing?
Gonna kind of have a slightly puzzled look and be like, did we find another memory chip for Technician?
I don't think we have.
Sorry, real quick. My eyes are still doing the thing, right?
They are still doing the thing. Sabis, you've never seen this before. You've never seen a Warforged just stop and then like get flooded with like energy over his face and his body.
Sabis and I are completely utterly confused.
Okay. And while you're doing this, Technician, your mouth sort of drops open because your mouth is like a full job, but you know, like the first section where you put that chip in initially, how you did that, and then it goes in your chest, and then you have the whole thing. Well, your mouth drops, and some like sort of vapors get released, and then his chest opens up, and you can see Vidar and Lorishik, as you're like sort of staring at him, you can see that he has 4 memory chips in there. And then 2 of them are sort of active and integrated. You could see actively that they're literally part of him now. And then one of them is sort of spinning rapidly inside his chest.
What's the 4th one doing?
Nothing. It's stationary.
It's just kind of like dormant. Got it. Okay. Vidar, do you know how to like, do we make it not spin? Do we need to like pull it out, blow it on it, and put it back in?
Sometimes if you restart a Warforged while this is updating, it can cause other issues. We should probably let it be.
How much worse can it get, though?
I mean, we've seen good and bad things come from this, so I guess we just have to let it play out.
Technician, while you're having this vision of Ilisan having a sort of weird conversation with this girl that you're not really understanding, what are you doing?
So in this vision, I am on the table. I can move my head. I'm assuming I can't move the rest of me.
You
seem to follow.
You can move some of you. It does appear that he was working on like your right half, so you can move your left arm and your head. So basically, from here down is basically inoperable on the right side and your legs.
So in this particular instance, Rep is going to try to address the young drow woman.
Okay.
You are malfunctioning. You should seek medical attention.
She turns over to you and looks back at Ilisan, and he sort of explains and walks her over to you and says, this is Technician. He is going to be my most proud achievement when he gets fully operational, obviously." And she looks at him and she goes, "Well, what do you mean I'm not okay?" As she sort of looks at you.
Your face is leaking.
She just sort of smiles. It's hard to explain what's happening. And he just sort of looks, Ilsan sort of looks down and he says, "Don't worry. She's in pain and we're just trying to alleviate it. So I think..."
But otherwise, she is operating within nominal parameters.
Yes, even with the leakage from her face. It is within
Oh, good.
parameters.
I am happy for you.
Oh, really? Ilisan sort of looks down.
Yes, you are operating. I am not.
Oh, that's very apparent. And she looks at him and she goes, "Well, they aren't normally really emotional, are they?" And he looks down and he said, "No, but I've made something special for this one. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing you completely operational. Would you say that you understand being in an emotional state that is outside normal parameters, but also understanding that you can still be operational as well as have an emotional state? Would you say that, Technician?" Go ahead and make...
No.
Go ahead and make another...
Sorry, what am I making?
Go ahead and make
Okay.
another insight check, please.
Not at all. I understand it as a bug. This is an incident and must be dealt with accordingly.
That's
Has your database been corrupted?
No. Imagine that you have someone you're close to and then they're just gone. And you can't talk to them and they're gone forever. And I don't have the ability to talk to him again, or he can't be rebuilt like you can be. And she just starts crying again.
But you were aware of his impermanence, knowing he could not be rebuilt before, correct?
Yes.
So then the fault must be yours. You expect too much of him.
That is a very harsh way to put it, but you are right. She just sort of starts crying and walks away. And with that, Technician does not have empathy. He doesn't have it. Make sure to write that down, Technician. You are not an empathetic being.
Yeah, I
We
thought that's
have-
where we were going with that weak ass initial insight roll. Is that it's just not there. So
We
I
actually have a psychopath.
I gave you a couple chances. I gave you
Well,
an ability to
no,
try.
I know. Okay, hang on a second. I thought you wanted me to role play the fact that he has no empathy. I went for it.
No, that's the point. Is had you
Okay.
made that roll, you would have understood empathy. And with that,
Okay.
you don't.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah, okay.
realizing. Yes. So this is why we're
Got
role
it.
playing it out. So that you can understand that your character does not, in fact, not have any empathy. Or he doesn't understand the concept of empathy.
Yeah. Okay.
He's
Yep,
not an
I'm
empath.
making a note.
And with that, like after a few minutes, it stops spinning around and you see it goes and it solidifies and integrates into his body. And I think that was number humor. Wait, do we assign each of them a specific one or no?
Kind of. The humor ones were definitely in the 9-10 set because that was the first one we were like, well, this is the first time you had two that were together.
There you go. 9 and 10 were middling empathy, so you sort of understand it a little bit, but then so we'll say number 9 was humor and number 10 was like empathy and sympathy, so or just empathy specifically. And after 10 solidifies itself, it's like Nope, don't get it at all. So we still haven't dealt with 17 yet. And everyone is just sort of looking at you as you solidify and your eyes come back to their normal color as you walk inside and you're not looking at your book anymore.
Right, but I notice everybody's looking at me.
You do?
What?
Travis is going to not respond and just sort of shake her head.
Oh, hello.
It looks like we have one more memory chip to go.
There's a good chance I am still missing plenty. But an island exploded. We kind of took a back seat with that.
Well, I mean, we have one more memory chip that you already know of to integrate.
Oh, right. Close up the chest plate there.
Did you learn anything new or exciting about yourself?
Yes. People have very unrealistic expectations of each other. I am not burdened by this.
Agreed. Others can be a burden at times.
And as you finish walking in, Stanislava sort of stands up and goes up next to you and says, How's everything?
I have made a thing.
You have. And she sort of walks over.
Yes, I haven't tried it. We were waiting for everyone to be together so we could reveal its function. Orak definitely helped with this design. He is most useful.
He is. He's quite capable, surprisingly to his size. Contrary to his size, he is surprisingly useful. And
He also
capable.
made this very delicate case. He is very good with fine detail.
It's true. And she sort of walks over to you and she says, do you want to demonstrate now? We are all here. And she sort of watches as Kuzma takes like a big bowl of oatmeal and just sort of sits down and starts munching down like a little bit farther away from you guys. The prince and his girlfriend have sat down and they're eating as well.
Sure. This is a spyglass. It is made from 2 eyes of Mumbal and 3 pounds of temper. We're not entirely sure of the function of it yet, but it is meant to help us find the simulacra. The simulacra will be the key to defeating Mumbal's invasion.
Does it require attunement?
Unsure.
Well, why don't you look?
Well, I'm just going to try to activate it. And we'll say if it doesn't activate, it probably requires attunement. Right.
You could always cast Identify on it.
Oh, yeah.
Hint, hint,
Yes,
wink,
I'll
wink.
take a look. Yes, hang on. Hold on, hang on. Let me find my reagents. No. Rip Rap's actually going to lower his arcane goggles and use that Identify instead.
Okay. So your goggles come down over your eyes and you just sort of look at it. It does not require an attunement, but it does require you to set a trigger word for it to turn on and become active. And it only stays active for 1 minute.
It does not require an attunement. It does require a trigger word or phrase. I will pick one at random that is not very well rehearsed or used by most people. Phlebotomy.
Okay, so you sort of set the word, and you see that it starts glowing, like the little bit of color, the temper around the the end that you look through. I don't actually know if there's a term for that, but yeah. And if as soon as you say it, it sort of like starts to glow, and the runes start making their way all the way across the temper and the brass sections. Are you looking at anyone specific?
No, I guess we're just going to kind of go around the room. Or I was actually going to start with Cardinal Directions because I don't know what the range on this thing is.
Okay. you're sort of looking at, you put it up to your eye, and the first thing that you see is you're looking at each of the directions, and you don't see anything. It just looks like a normal spyglass, except it doesn't actually magnify. It only looks like just in a direction. It magnifies a little bit, obviously, because of how optics work, but it's not like an actual telescope. Are you going to pan around the room, or what are you doing?
Yeah, we'll start looking at individual people. Let's start with Kuzma.
Kuzma, you see, like, as soon as you look at a person and you look straight at Kuzma, you can see a strange sort of aura coming from behind them. It's like as if somebody put a light behind them and then it shines upward a little bit. And you can see like a dull gray sort of light / fog gas coming off of him. Sort of looks very strange. You don't really know how to interpret it.
I guess we will turn to Stanislava.
Stanislava sort of looks strangely at you as you look at her. The fire of her hair, like the fiery color of her hair is behind her. It looks like a raging fire is coming out from behind her.
And Casimir's in the tent too?
He is.
All right, let's give Casimir a look.
A blood red mist. It's like just flowing, just like the fog that's coming off of Kuzma, except Casimir's is like blood red. And it does have a little bit of that fire color that Stanislava has.
Okay, and then you said the prince and his girlfriend are in the tent with us, or are they in a separate tent? Okay.
No.
Let's give the prince a look.
You look at the prince, and he's just like a. It's like the color of temper, sort of fog coming off of him, but it has like little blasts every once in a while of like a bright blue light.
And his drow girlfriend, whose name I can't remember.
Her name is Solson. You look at Solson, and she does not look like a person. You can't see her at all. She's a void.
Prep is going to remark, "Fascinating. I can see all of your auras." And then he's going to move over to Vidar and he's going to turn his volume knob all the way down, or like almost basically imperceptibly low. And he's going to say, "Look at me, but then also look at Solson." And then say, you should check out, I would like to know what color my aura is. And hand the spyglass over to Vidar.
Vidar, as soon as you put it up, it looks the same thing. It amplifies a little bit, but you look directly at Technician, and he has this sort of like really, really interesting sort of. It's like a bright. It's a bright temper color. Like if you're looking at him, he looks like the color that your temper is. He looks just like that. Very bright temper. And then you look at Solson, and she's a void. She just doesn't have one. But her body isn't even there. Like, she doesn't exist at all. It's just a black silhouette of what she looks like.
So you say void, you mean like there's not like a creepy aura or anything like that? It's just literally nothing?
It's just a black shape that looks like her.
It's like textures failed to load kind
Yep.
of appearance? Vidar is going to say, "Fascinating. You have quite the temper aura about you, Technician," and hand to him back the spyglass.
This is a marvelous tool. I am sure we will figure out more about how it works as we use it.
As both of you sort of look at each other, and the spyglass. I assume that takes a little bit around the minute mark, and then it stops glowing for a second. I need both of you to make investigation checks, please.
Rep is just not rolling well today.
That's the crazy part.
Not
Is
at
he
all.
rolled a
Yeah.
2 and still rolled a 13. Just throwing it out there. Both of you sort of look at each other. You're about 9, Technician and Vodar, you look at each other, and both of you have the same thought, that Solson is a simulacrum.
Lowerchik. Sabis, can I talk to you privately, please? Or may we talk to you privately?
Sure.
I'm shoveling fistfuls of food in my face and just nodding. I pick up a plate and I get off my bench, waiting.
We think you should talk to the prince about his relationship with Solson in private. How long they have been together, for example.
Why are we doing this?
You
Rep
just want
Rep
us,
Rep
you want us to
Rep
go
is
ask him?
Rep is going to turn his volume like all the way down again and basically say they need to be separated, and there's a very good chance that we are dealing with a simulacra in Solson. In order to question them separately, we figure that we, being a little bit closer to magically adepts, might question Solson. I observed her as a void. Did you observe her as a void, Vidar?
Vidar just nods, since he doesn't have a volume knob.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh,
Yes.
through the spyglass, you mean, yeah?
Yes. I announced very loudly that we didn't know what we were doing, but there's a very good chance we have already used it correctly.
So, I guess everyone else looked sort of unique and different, and then there's just the void here. Then, is that what?
It stands to follow the aura of a simulacra of void would be a void.
All right, then how do we plan to separate them?
That's why I was hoping you could question the prince about his relationship.
I can use my lizard charm to get Solson distracted, and perhaps one of you can talk to the prince about potentially using the refugees to help support the fields, perhaps, and take care of our insects, and use that as an opportunity to make casual small talk.
That is a pretty good plan.
Out of curiosity, what do we expect to gain from investigating them? Most of the Soulforged that we have met did not even realize that they were Soulforged at the time. Is it possible that a simulacrum may not even know?
Possible, but my intent is not to investigate her via conversation. Rather, possibly a much more difficult conversation.
But what do we do with this simulacrum once we've found one?
That's what we intend to find out. That's what I intend to find out.
Would it be better just to take her to Soulforger? Take her to Trusted Sister or to the Progenitor?
Is that possibly the
We have-
exact opposite of what we should be doing?
I am concerned that could be a very bad move. I just saw the image.
we can separate them, and I'm not sure I would know what to ask about his relationship, but I'm happy to talk
Most
to either of them.
Mostly, he just needs to be distracted. I am convinced that were we to want to question her separately, he would protest.
So do we want to ask her if she knows that she is a void, or do we want to tell him that she is a void?
In confidence, my plan was to assume that she is a void, dangerous and hostile, and to treat her as such. Most likely by bounding and gagging, and then questioning relentlessly, with impunity.
That may not
Eh,
be the best thing to do.
Why? A system interrogation will give you information about the system.
The
Interrogations under duress usually lead to lies, not truth. You
Is
know?
it possible that the first thing we should do is speak with Stanislava, make sure she understands the potential, and make sure that the Soulforged in the area are safe?
That is also a good step.
You can also ask Kuzma to look through the spyglass as well and see if Kuzma feels the same way. I would have a feeling that he might better understand these auras, essences that you guys are seeing.
All right. So as you guys sort of have this conversation, everyone else is sort of talking amongst themselves. What are you guys doing?
Let's talk to Stanislava first. She may actually come up with a better plan.
Are you guys going to call out to her, have her come over? What's your plan?
I can go get Stanislava and invite her back to her quarters for private one-on-one chat. And when you guys see us leave, you can just follow us there.
Very well.
I toss my plate back on the table and walk over to Stanislava. May I have a private word with you in your quarters for a moment?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. She sort of stands up. She stands up and she looks down at you because she towers over you. Come here. And she takes you back to like the far back side of the tent where there's like just a little drape that goes between her like private area and the rest of the large tent. And she closes it behind you and she says, did you find something? Should I be worried?
The others from my group might be here in a moment, but it sounds as though there's some concern with what we've seen in the spyglass already, and we're looking for your input.
Okay. What did we see? Are we just waiting for them to show up and then we'll have the conversation, or what? How would you like to do it?
They might be better suited at describing, at least technician. I peek my head out the drapes and see if I see technician walking towards us.
I assume that Sabas, Vidar, and Technician are all making their way in once you guys went inside.
Yeah.
About a minute later, they all end up coming inside, and she closes the curtain behind you guys and says, "Okay, explain to me, Technician, what's happening."
The spyglass reveals auras of people. Yours was a fiery red and a bit of a blood mist for Casimir. This is to be expected from members of Krasen Grits. The aura that surrounded the prince was blue with a bit of temper color. The aura that surrounded Vidar was also temper. Mine as well. Solon has no aura. In fact, she does not actually appear to be a person. She appears as a black void. Vidar can confirm this result.
And she sort of looks at Vidar for confirmation.
I saw the same.
So what assumptions are we making then? Because to me that would say that she is nothing, or you said simulacrum is the word that we're using for them.
A simulacrum of void would, for lack of better terms, appear as a void.
True.
Most likely.
I would assume at least that much. So what? Okay. So we need to talk to the prince. Then we need to talk to Zarek.
We would also like to make sure that all of the Soulforged in the area are safe and taken care of if something happens.
Oh, I have already put them in a very large and tented. Have you heard of the Mordekainen's manor? All of the Soulforged and their entourage are in there. We have a wizard that casts it every day to shield them from divination magic and other things that we cannot control. So they're nowhere to be found. I will go get Zarek and bring him in here. How does that sound? If we bring in Zarek by himself, we can ask him about her. Would that be fair? Is that what you want?
Be probably ideal.
We should also be cautious. We may need to treat Solon as hostile.
Solson can be dealt with Kuzma. And we have Casimir as well. I will tell them both.
I'm going to go sit out there and continue eating, as if not to raise awareness to our grouping, and I can also help Casimir in the event that.
If you want to tell Casimir what's happening, just both of you eat. Back normal. We're good. I can
do that.
I will go get Solson, or I will go get Zarek, and we'll not interrogate. We're not interrogating anyone. We need to get Kuzma, because Kuzma has the spell zone of truth. So maybe we can get the full truth out of him. Fully.
I head out and go find Casimir and grab a new plate of food and sit next to him.
And she waits for a while before coming out, and she goes straight over to Kuzma and like talks to him for a moment, and Kuzma nods and heads back in with Technician and Vidar. Sabas, did you say that you wanted to go out with Loershik?
Yeah, Sabas will go out with Lurishik, grab a plate of food.
Okay.
Same thing, sit across from them.
Casimir looks at both of you and says, "Is there something I should be aware of? Or what are we doing?"
Does Casimir speak Draconic? I vaguely remember him
He does.
speaking it.
He does speak Draconic.
Okay. In Draconic, I say, we need to speak with the prince alone, so they'll be doing that in the back room. We just need to stay out here to make sure that interested parties don't follow them and don't cause any trouble.
We are security.
Duly noted. I know. Do you want me to go get Bolo just in case? Because any reinforcement, I can have him stay outside in case she runs.
Perhaps we could just ask the spiders to give him a message. And have him come in here.
That's true. Why don't you get your boys on it? And he sort of turns to Sabas.
Sabas starts already nodding, and yeah. Spider time.
And you message, basically, they give you like part of your tattoo is that you can basically message the spiders as long as they're nearby. And the spiders are like, they're literally...
there's no way there's not one nearby.
They're literally sealing the outside of the tent with webs. So she physically is unable to leave.
Yeah.
And then...
We'll relay this to the other two.
Casimir just sort of nods. Well, anyone need any food? And he sort of stands up and he sort of like walks around. A few seconds later, Stanislava comes out of the back. Comes out of the back room and goes back to Zarek and says, you guys can't really hear it, but he sort of nods and he stands up. Technician and Vidar, you're in there with Kuzma. Kuzma's like sort of preparing the ritual for it. Zarek comes in and Stanislava stands at the door. I will let you handle it. I will be here. Just, in case. Zarek sort of looks at you guys. He says, I don't understand what's happening. Why are we talking exactly?
Prince Zarek.
Yes?
How long have you known Solson?
I have known her since we were very young.
We have reason to believe she may, unwillingly or willingly, be in league with the enemy.
Define enemy.
What is happening because Void, the Soulforger, Void's a Soulforger, right? Void, the Soulforger, is making a play at domination. To accomplish this goal, he is attempting to root out all of the Soulforgers and their Soulforged. In this endeavor, he has created simulacra. We have used the spyglass to see the auras of people in the room. My own and yours very similar. Stanislava's and Casimir's very similar. She appears as nothing, quite literally a void. We believe she may be a simulacra of void, willingly or unwillingly. That part we're not sure on.
And with that, Kuzma casts Zone of Truth on him, and he just looks at Kuzma, confused. And Kuzma nods at him, and he nods back for a second, like they know what is going on. He says, and Kuzma looks at you and he says, "He has acquiesced to the spell."
How long have you known Solson?
Since we were children. I was introduced to her by one of another royal family within Nilhund. She came from the far north, and I came from the southeast.
Is there any reason that you might believe she may have assisted Ivan in destroying Nilhund?
No. She's been with me forever, and we weren't even together until right before that. She had this sort of vendetta that she would not leave me alone for a year or so before then. So I was just confused. And to be honest with you, things are beginning to make sense. The only thing I ask is that you let me see myself. Can we activate the spyglass now?
We may. We should. Rip Rap is going to sort of peek into the next room, I guess, through the tent a little bit and see if Solson's in eye line.
She is. She's just sort of eating on her own, eating like a large sort of breakfast.
Please, Prince Eric, be discreet, and pull out the spyglass. Phlebotomy.
It brightens up, and he takes it from you, and he like barely pushes it over the side and looks, and then he takes it and he looks at each of you, and tears immediately begin to like come out of his eyes.
I am sorry, Prince Eric. You have already suffered tragedy.
He hands you back the spyglass. That's sympathy, not empathy, by the way.
Yeah, I have sympathy, not empathy.
Sympathy and empathy are two different things.
Chat, everybody else. I apologize because this character is now just very fucked in how it's going to respond to everything. So this is happening now.
I am sorry. Why are you crying?
I'm sorry, you're a bitch.
So
stop being a little bitch.
So here's my question to you. How we need to verify, like there's a lot of things that we don't understand is happening. How can I help? And he makes sure he's standing in the zone of truth the whole time. I just, if she is in league, whether knowingly or unknowingly, we have to do something. And I don't know what we should do. And it makes me very upset that she could be this way. Stanislava looks at you guys and says, well, I think what we can do is just keep you guys doing what you do normally. Everything is the same. And we just keep going and doing what we're doing. And then once we that word is hard to say. Verify that she is what she is. Then we move on it. And if we have to, I don't want to say it as much as anyone else does. I don't want to kill her. But if that's our option, that's our option.
End her. Remove her from her mortal coil.
Yes. If that's the only option that
I
we
am
have.
sorry. I thought you were looking for similes.
No, I'm just rep. I appreciate you, but we're just trying to. If that's our only option, I wonder if she is a simulacrum or if she has a way to remove it or something. That's all. I wonder if there's some sort of spell we can find.
It may also be useful to understand fully what a simulacrum is. Is it a vessel for channeling power or for restraining power?
We are on our way back to see one of the Soulforgers. This would be a useful question.
I
Of
believe
course, we could appeal. We could appeal to Kuzma's deity as well.
we could. Kuzma is just sort of smiling at you as he's channeling it, concentrating on a spell. I don't know what we should do. I am at a loss because I've never been in a situation where someone who betrayed so easily is here. It would make sense, though. She and Yvonne knew each other beforehand, somehow. Do we
Could
know?
we, by chance,
Go ahead.
I apologize.
Go ahead.
Could we, by chance, put her in the mansion and then leave without her?
Weren't you in the other room?
That-
Yeah, you're in the other room, my dude.
Yeah, you're in the other room.
We are eating
I'm
lunch.
just talking
They're
to
still in the room.
Casimir about, drugging and kidnapping random people. Because why not? That's what me and
I
Casimir do.
don't
Here,
believe.
Casimir, would you like to become a highwayman?
You make it sound like I've never kidnapped someone and drowned them before.
I'm interested.
Oh no, it was a bad time. He tried to kill me, so I drowned him in a dog water bowl.
Good choice.
It was rough right until he stopped moving, but then it was quite entertaining because we threw him off a bridge. It was a good time. He's just sort of cracking his knuckles as he has a conversation. But Lershik, I don't think that's an option because we don't understand what we're dealing with. Remember, when we go back to that temple, we have to verify the source of power and then make sure she's not impermanent or something. You get what I mean? I have
I
trouble.
was suggesting putting Evie in the mansion and leaving without her.
Wasn't she already there to
Who
begin
are
with?
you talking about?
I don't know. Some spirit lady? I thought I don't know what
yeah.
you're talking about.
I'm just going to continue eating.
I think that's fair. And they both sort of look at each other and you're like looking awkwardly. Back to the other conversation. Stanislava looks at you and says, so the plan is just to continue on. That's what we're doing. We're just continuing.
You
And
must
then-
not let her know you know, Prince Eric.
He looks at you and he says, absolutely not. Because we don't know if she doesn't know. So I think that that's the issue, is we don't know if it's active or passive. So Yvonne clearly knew, but I think he was on a power level that's on a different thing, because she's not even an adventurer. Yvonne was an adventurer, so. All right. Why don't you? I will go see her, make sure that she's good. And then you let me know. Send me a message or do something. I will be at the camp with the other refugees. Once you figure out the plan of action, however long it takes. And he sort of bows and leaves.
Gonna bow back.
He's in the zone of truth. He acquiesced. That was all true. So here we are.
I still think we should have immediately treated her as a hostile prisoner.
But the problem is what if we get Nilhunded? We could all die.
I mean, the easiest way is just to set a watch. We have so many people here we can trust. Just keep an eye on her at all times.
As Zarek sort
Do
of...
you want us to keep an eye on Evie the whole time? Or
As Zarek exits, he sort of walks over to you guys and he says, "Don't worry, I have it all under control." Is your food good? How's your food? Is it good? He's looking at
Rap is going to-
Lorishik and Sabas.
Just give a very beleaguered thumbs up. Just like, yep, definitely, yep, doing good.
Rep is going to sort of. Oh no! You know what? Never mind. He's not.
I nod aggressively to Zarek as he walks
Oh,
by.
great. Good. Yeah. I'll see you guys later. And he sort of walks back to Solson and he sits down and he says, "Oh, it was nothing. They just wanted to talk to us about what the plan is for work and things like that for everyone." And like, they're just having like a small talk conversation. And she looks perfectly content.
Does he appear to like look like he was just crying at all?
No.
Okay.
All right. So
So
Rep is
the
going
other
to say
people
this.
still hang on the back.
What do you do,
Vidar
Vidar?
is Vidar standing right behind Lorishik and just out of the blue says, "How's the meat?"
I just grab a stick or a leg of something. I don't know what type of meat it is in the moment because I'm chowing, and I just kind of reach over my shoulder and like offer him a piece, even though I know he's not going to accept it. It's the only reason I offered it in the first place. And after he doesn't
Vidar
take it, I just put it back in my mouth.
Vidar had followed Zarek out without really people noticing.
Oh, yeah.
And comes back and sits down next to Lorishik and just kind of gives that nod, like, I guess things are fine with him kind of nod.
So, technician, you're in there with Kuzma and Stanislava, and they're just looking at you like, "So, are you going to ask the Soulforger what the deal is?"
That is probably our best plan. I think we should be ready to deal with Solson with expediency. It might be worth making sure that Casimir stays near.
So, you want Casimir to stay here then?
Or somebody that can dispatch her swiftly.
Fair enough. I will assign Casimir to them for the time being. You'll take Bolo with you when you go back to the temple.
Fair enough. We will figure out how to deal with a simulacra. It is possible she's not the only one. We do have a bunch of refugees here, but she would definitely be within a position to affect the most damage.
Why don't you keep the spyglass with you? And then when you get
I will.
back, we will talk further.
Is there a charges or a cooldown system on the Spyglass, or is it just command word 1 minute?
Command word 1 minute. You can do it up to 5 times per day.
Okay. It might make
I got
sense to
more
let
notes to make.
Savas do this, as Savas is a rogue with a 40-foot movement speed. So, run around camp, look at, tents and gatherings and shit, and see if she sees anyone else.
It might not be a bad plan. Stanislava comes out with Technician and Kuzma. Kuzma goes and sits by himself over yon, eating his bowl of oatmeal again. He looks at you guys. He comes back over to Lorishik and Sabas, and he's like, and Stanislava looks at you and says, "Right, we have our plan. Let me know when you get back. I will have Bolo meet you later today, and you can depart whenever you want to. We're not really on a time limit, I don't believe." What are you guys doing?
When we go back, were we going to take Vizim with us?
Yes, I believe that was the plan. Vajim needs to meet her Soulforger in the forge. We do have to contend. What the hell were their names?
Blood Hunters.
The blood with the blood hunter alligators near that temple. I think we already had a plan around that as well. we were going to drop the temple on them, I think.
Quello had the plan to termite the temple supports for the entrance.
But we could still use the yeet stones just to go straight to the Trusted Sisters' room, correct? Now
No,
that we've
the
been
magic
there.
of the
No.
temple. The magic of the temple was blocking us from doing that.
Yeah, we were going to collapse the entrance and break the entrance of the magic of the temple so we can use stun in there whenever we want.
So perhaps we should go back to Natode and bring all the dwarves with us, so they can go and help on the fields if they want to.
That was not in a toad.
It was
You
not
know,
Natode. That was
I'm not good at geography.
Yunskyle.
Yunskill. We can take them to Yunskill, and we can travel to Natode ourselves through the creepy forest.
Why are we going to Natode?
Because I don't remember anything. I just like meat. There are too many places.
You have tasted the foods of the golden molar, and now you want more.
Okay, you caught me. Yes.
I see. Addiction is a very dangerous thing. I cannot say that I can at all understand it, but you should seek professional help.
I don't have the money to go back there again. I'm sorry, Luershik.
I believe where you
I
want to
do.
go is the Verdant Guard, to the jungle in the middle where the temple is. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, we should go there.
All right. So what we're gonna do, I think, right now is we're gonna take our 15-minute break, and then we will talk to you guys in 15 minutes. 'Cause I have to get something to eat. All right. We'll see you guys in 15 minutes. Where is it? Short rest. Bam.
Oh.
Welcome back, everybody, to Legendary Tales. We're back from our 15-minute break. We're just about to do something. I don't know what we're doing. Quick recap. They found out that Solsin is potentially a simulacrum for Void. So they're trying to figure out if she is or if she is not. And we're going to try and find that out probably right now. I think the next thing is we're going to yeet ourselves back to the temple. Right? Was that the plan?
With Bolo.
Okay.
Did the dwarves indicate that they wanted to stay here in the warbands, or
Yes.
they want to go back to Sultan? Okay, cool. Then yes, let's go to the temple.
You do have to go get
Vijin.
Vijim.
Vijin.
Vijim.
And we can yeet without Casimir, correct?
Yes.
Great.
All right. You guys eventually basically like an hour after you guys are finished eating, Bolo comes strolling up to the big tent, looks inside, sees all of you. Right. What's the plan? I heard we were going. What were we doing?
We're going to go do your plan at the temple.
Oh, are
Let's
we?
go drop some rocks on people.
Right. Sounds good. When are we going? Right now?
We need one more.
Oh, right. The girl. We need to go get the girl. Right. I'll go get her. I know where she is. He sort of starts trotting off in a direction. Then, like, you guys see him, like, in the middle of the field. He sort of, like, knocks on a thing, and you're like, what the heck? And then a second later, she hops out with him, and they sort of run back over. Right. I've got her. Let's go. You guys ready? Weapons out. Weapons out, boys and girls.
Right. Gonna
Savis will
arm the
raise
heavy
her
crossbow.
fist. Savis is
put
gonna hold her
disguise on.
focus.
Do you think we need to? We're going to the middle of the jungle.
I don't know. Man, the trees have ears.
All right. Disguise up.
Right. He grabs Vijim's hand, and then, like, all of you get together, and he yeets. Vroom, vroom, you get sucked through the portal. And we need to transition to
Been
here.
there, done that.
Boom. You guys transition to the rainy entrance of the temple. And all of you to make perception checks, please, as the rain starts coming down. Oh.
We got kinship among the fucking lizards today.
You do.
The iguanas are friendly.
Wait, bog standard is a...
That doesn't seem to fit the theme.
Bog standard's
That
a
was
temple.
definitely a Starbucks.
Yeah.
I don't know what Starbucks you've been to, but mine are usually pretty quiet.
How about this one? Let's see if this one sounds good. Either way, you get there in the middle of the rain. Why are all these places populated?
Do we need our disguise? We're just going to the middle of the jungle.
That would be funny if we had a welcoming committee with like signatures and books and shit. That'd be
In
great.
fairness, there was nobody here last time. Just lizard people.
Hey. Well, I'm not really a lizard.
So you guys get teleported in the middle of the rain. It's raining. Vidar and Technician, you're sort of sitting there, and you're listening for it, and you hear a... coming from the southern edge Bolo immediately turns to you and says, "You hear that, right?"
Nope.
Vidar points at
Yes.
one of the puddles on the ground, and the puddle is kind of like rippling, almost like it's a cup on a dashboard.
Yeah, you guys are sort of looking down. Loeshik and Sabas, you look down and you see the way the ripples in the water.
We should get inside the temple quickly.
Right. Actually, Vidar. Wait, who's the fastest? Who's the fastest one?
I can move
That would be
quickly.
that'd be Salas, I think. Or do we both have 40 feet? Okay.
Right. So you're both fast as shit. Loeshik, technician, get inside.
I slowly walk 30 feet.
He starts he opens his messenger bag and starts pulling out these really long metal tubes from his thing and starts handing them. They have like thin pieces of insulated wire between them. He starts like 10 or 15 feet in between each of them. He starts handing them to Sabas. He's like, right, at the structural positioning, you can see it all along the thing. You see the big metal struts right there.
I do.
Put them in
Lay
there.
him across.
Okay. And he starts going backwards along with everyone else. You guys start making your way around. As soon as you guys get into the entrance, you look out in front of you, and I need all of you to make nature checks, please.
I'm good at those.
Sabas and Technician, both of you look at it, and it appears to be a mutated T-Rex variant, except the front arms are extremely long, and they have these two massive claws on the front like this, and they're sort of dragging along the ground. They turn at you, and you see a huge amount of steam released from their mouths as a large amount of glowing energy begins to pool at their mouth. And there's two of
Where
them.
is this at?
To the south of you in the water. The creatures are actually so large that they wouldn't fit on the map.
Oh.
And there's two of them.
They are preparing to attack
Very
at
quickly.
range.
So for the
Does
record,
Vishim need a token?
Vajim does not have a token. Sorry.
are the beams that Volo referenced me to the ones outside here?
Yes, those are
Three.
like the struts and things. He's like laying
Yeah.
them all across there, and then he's laying some on the
Tavis is
inside.
going to- Yeah, Tavis will help as well.
Bolo is like, that's not what I remember. Right, everyone needs to get inside right now. And with that, you also see a small army of these red jade and gold adorned monstrous crocodiles, essentially like 60 or 70 of them walking in between the legs of these giant creatures. They turn and they go, you, Sabas and Lorshik, you hear him go, intruders, get him! And you hear them in like this really deep, like gravelly voice yell at you guys as you begin to run inside. He's like, and Bolo just sort of looks at you and goes, right. And he presses this plunger. And after a moment, all of you are just sort of standing there. You're running down this. I assume you're running down the stairs, right? You're like literally getting into the temple as quickly as possible.
Yeah, fuck this.
You hear a delayed clicking noise, and all of a sudden the whole building shakes. I need everyone to make dexterity saving throws, please. That was on a 1 for just a second. Technician, you take a nasty fall down the stairs, but it doesn't actually hurt you. As you guys get down to the very bottom, the whole temple shakes, and yeah, the whole temple shakes, and you guys find yourselves. Hold on for 1 second. At the entrance of the forge. Let me bring us there.
So technician fell down multiple flights of stairs.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious.
Bonk, 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 a bonk, a bonk.
I do not appear to be injured, but I should run a diagnostic on my ass. It is no longer shiny.
Hey, we can polish your ass later.
You guys get
Canceling ass diagnostic.
you guys get down to the bottom, and it looks exactly the same as it was. Bolo looks at you guys, and he's like, so that was more effective than I believed. I apologize to anyone who was inconvenienced by the sheer amount of power that was released. I apologize. Sort of rubbing his hands together.
Vidar is going to be looking over Vijim, kind of pretending like he's checking to see if she was okay after the explosion, but mostly checking to see if she's starting to glow or anything like that yet.
She has not begun to glow, no. Yeah, she just sort of looks at you. She's like, I am fine, thank you.
We don't see Anaxamut here by chance, do we?
No. If you want to try and find out where she went, you can make a perception check if you'd like, or a nature check, or survival check to track her if you'd like to try.
I'll do
Survival.
a survival check.
I will also... Actually, I'll do a nature check. Oh, survival, actually.
You can see that she did leave like a little bit behind of like a couple of her tiny little baby scales. But other than that, you can't find a trace of her at all. Excuse me.
I want to walk a little. Can we mind?
Oh,
if I
unpause.
so I
There you
can-
go. Sorry. Hold on. Bam. There you go.
So we're trying
Everything
to figure
seems
out
to
be in the same
stop
condition.
Anti-yeet stone magic, yeah.
Lorishik, what'd you say?
I just asked if everything seemed like it was in the same condition.
Everything seems exactly the same. Sabas, what'd you say?
So the goal here so far is just to find why we can't use yeet stone into here, yeah?
Yes, that would be one of the objectives.
Yeah.
You guys get in here, and Bolo is just sort of looking around, looking at all the machinery and things like that. I have... What the heck? Okay. There we go. I made a Vijim token, so give me a second. Okay. So you guys are in the workshop. What are you doing? Vidar, you said you're with Vijim. Are you bringing her along with you?
Yeah, I'm kind of walking her towards the south, towards where Trusted Sister would be.
Okay.
Making my way downtown.
Walking fast. Faces past him homebound.
Hey, good boy.
Doodly doodly doo. Huh? What are you doing right now, technician?
Investigating the panels to see if there is a way to like shut down a some sort of anti-teleport.
Sure.
Shield
Go ahead and
or
make an
something.
investigation check for me, please. 11, Jesus.
Nice 4.
Roll a 4, gets an 11. Or gets a 15. Rolls a 4, gets a 15. You're looking around, and there is a substantial amount of like panels and like background processes running that you're not used to seeing.
Thorald was a dwarf. Presumably, the documentation on his systems is in Dwarvish.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to start reading.
Sure. You're looking over all of the notes and everything that's in here, and you could definitely tell that there's a bunch of stuff on that would not normally be on. And I did make a Vizim token. There you go.
Vidar is going to yell back at Technician. Be careful, we don't need to reactivate security again.
Well, it activated when we destroyed the statues, which I don't think we're going to do anything that catastrophic here yet.
As you're looking at the panels, Technician, you're sort of looking it over. And on this like gigantic panel that you guys are sort of walking over and looking at all the things, you notice down south there's a handful of panels that have now come up on these like sections of the gear that was around the egg that you put the little dragon into and then she came out of it. A handful of panels with switches and levers and stuff has come up from the ground.
I am going to investigate these panels.
Bolo sort of walks around with you. Vizim's going to go with Vidar. Yeah, you look at this panel and there's a bunch of like active processes that are just passively running. One of them is like the heat of the heat of the facility and all sorts of other stuff. And then eventually you get to a panel that just has an on and off switch on it that just says in Dwarvish, it says shield.
Gonna take one more look over these panels to see if there's anything else similar. Because shield could be another, like shield could be a bunch of stuff, but
none of the other panels appear to be defensive measures. They're all just active processes within the forge itself, and a lot of them are labeled like liquid, like pumping things, and then they have a bunch of gauges on there that are just passive. You could definitely tell that a lot of it's like regulatory flowing and all sorts of other inputs and outputs of very specific meaning. The only one that has like a power bar that's like steadily happening on it is the shield.
I believe I have found the shield. I can shut it down now or when we're ready.
I would wait until we're ready. Just don't want to, have something crazy happen and then,
You
not
could
be.
always ask Trusted Sister to see if that is in fact the right button to push.
You're right. I have a plan though. All right, if you trust me here, I'm gonna stay here, and then wherever you guys come out, I'll meet you there, or I'll just go back to the warbands if you want me to.
You don't want to meet Trusted Sister.
No, I want no part of it. Because remember, it left a mark on you, right? And if I'm about my business and I get shown and they have some way of detecting it, I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to be implicated.
Which way is Bolo facing?
He's facing towards the southern part.
I'm going to double check the northern panels one more time.
What are you doing?
Like to very sneakily take a peek at Bolo with the spyglass.
Okay.
Do you want sleight of hand?
Yeah. Go and do a sleight of hand for me.
You change that every fucking session.
No, that's the 20. The other one you've heard before is just for the nat 1.
Wow, we are unlucky as shit.
He's sort of sitting there looking at the large panels, and you take a look at him, and he's a person. He's got an aura. It's very bright yellow.
I have seen nothing new up here. I am satisfied. I'm not gonna pocket the spyglass.
And as you guys are like walking toward the entrance, technician, since you're back there, you're actually watching Bolo pull out a tent from his backpack, and he starts like setting up like a little shelter for himself. Right.
Enjoy your camping.
Oh, I will. Luckily, I'm inside this time. Don't have to worry about weather or nothing. So, right. I'll see you guys in a couple days or something. As you guys get closer, Vizim begins to have her like sort of tattoo she didn't know about begin to glow, and her whole body begins to be covered in this massive sort of technologic looking tattoo. And she just sort of looks at Vidar and goes, "Oh, what can I expect when we get in here?"
That I cannot say. It's a bit different for everyone. But you'll meet Trusted Sister. And you'll probably learn a lot about yourself.
I would hope so. And that though, like as Vidar approaches it, the old factory that existed, where Vidar was born and manufactured, begins to like obfuscate, and then a large sheen of water-looking material appears in front as Vidar begins to glow as well. Who's going in first?
Presumably Vidar and Vizim. The V.
She just sort of walks up and she begins to like prod the sort of material, and her hand goes right through it, and she just looks at her hand and then up at Vidar. Shall we?
Let's.
And you both walk inside. The two disappear into the sheen. What are the rest of you doing?
I follow.
Yeah, I saw no reason not to follow.
Okay. All of you sort of enter, and that same sort of watery substance that you all splash land in whoosh, is in front of you. And directly in front of you is a large pillow. And the very large woman that was there before sort of turns around. She says, "Oh, you came back. My heart is full." And she sort of stands up and walks over to Vizim, kneels down in front of her so they're both at eye to eye, takes her hands, and in that similar fashion to similar to what happened to Chestelet, she takes her hands and light just explodes out of Vizim at the same time, and she just, a moment later, she turns towards you and turns towards Vidar. And in an almost familiar voice, you hear, "You came back." Vidar, you recognize that as the voice of Ferald.
Of course we came back. That was what we were told to do.
And Vizim walks over to you, and her voice sort of changes to something completely different. She looks at you and she goes, "Aye, you did come back."
And we have returned and brought Soulforged with us. Although at this point I'm still not sure what the benefit of gathering all of the Soulforged are or what the use will be.
You don't have to worry about that. Because when we get them all together, that's where power comes from. And you can see that she has like the warmest smile ever. Void, when he imprisoned us so many years ago, he put us all in a place on the world. And that made it so that we couldn't talk to each other. How do you prevent kingdoms from gaining power? You remove their allies and their ability to communicate. If you get all the Soulforged together, it will be the most powerful force in all of history.
How many Soulforged are there still to find? 5?
5. We have to pray that Void didn't make one himself either. Because whatever comes after Mumbal is going to be extremely powerful. And she turns...
Speaking of Ball and Void,
Mm-hmm.
we believe we may have found of one of the simulacrums.
How did you detect it?
And just gonna kind of point over at Technician.
She turns to Technician as her eyes are glowing like this super bright light.
We took the hammer, forged 2 eyes and 3 ingots of temper into this, and shows them the spyglass. It detects the aura of people, of things, and for one particular thing, it detected nothing but just a dark silhouette,
That
a
would
void, if you will.
be a simulacrum.
How may we deal with a simulacrum?
It depends on the person. If some of them are created as simulacrum, some of them are taken over as simulacrum. If you do a detect magic, you can tell that if nothing appears, then they are exactly as they are. And if they appear to have an enchantment style aura, they've been taken over. So you have to sort of deal with it relative to who it is. And it also depends on the simulacrum. A lot of them are like very powerful, but some of them are just passive. Some of them are just eyes for the purpose of being eyes. So in our experiences, it's usually 2 per kingdom ish. So you just have to be aware. You're probably looking for a handful.
But more importantly, how do we deal with a simulacrum? Remove the head, destroy the brain?
Not quite. You have to have a very, depends if they are just as they are, a simulacrum, you can kill them and that will solve it. But if they're imprisoned or they are taken over, like a parasite, a greater restoration or a remove curse sometimes does it, depending on how powerful they are. Dispel magic at a sufficient power level. It depends.
Will people who have become simulacrum retain memories from their time as simulacrum?
Aye. From our investigations, yay. Some did not.
Can they communicate back to whoever enchanted or created them without being present?
Aye. Well, it depends. Some of the really powerful ones can actively move to Void's location. Some of the passive ones are sort of like drones. So you have to be aware of what the version they are. Be very careful.
Could we use a simulacrum to find Void's location?
You could, but it would take some very powerful divination magic. You just have to be aware of it. It just depends.
How much should we be confronting these simulacrums before we have all of the Soulforged gathered together?
Again, you don't know until you figure out what type they are. So, if they are actively full-on simulacrum, just, I don't know, just deal with it, ask him, it's up to you. It depends on the person as well. Remember, if he does 2 per kingdom, how do you infiltrate? What's the best way to infiltrate the kingdom? You go to the highest level. So, some simulacrum could be very high ranking. Some of them could be very close to very high ranking people. Like your Yvonne. He was very high ranking within his kingdom, so therefore very powerful. So when you're dealing with him, you have to figure out what he's going to do. Where the one that you found recently is distantly related to a powerful person. So the girl was probably not very powerful. So you just have to
Most likely a drone spy.
Exactly. So you just have to think about it that way. And then once you find out what type she is.
Stanislava know.
And Vizim is just sort of nodding. And then all of a sudden she comes back to herself and she just looks at you guys and goes, I never would have known. Thank you. I believe that was for all that was talking through me. So, yeah. She just sort of looks around like, what do we do now?
Trusted sister, do you think it makes more sense for Vishim to be here? Or should we bring her closer to Cheslet and keep all the Soulforged together? Or should we bring them all together at once and keep them separate?
I have been watching and keeping them together. Togetherness is the key. Because now that she's awakened, her and Chestelet can make a huge difference on where you are. So let them make a difference. Do you have any other questions?
Where should we be for the next Soulforged?
She looks at you and she goes, it depends on which one you want to find. There's my mother, my friend, and my father, and my brother.
Do you have any specific preference? We inevitably need to find them all, so order matters not.
Well, my brother is where you just were. Not just. In the place with the gray. All the gray.
Still time.
It is what they call it now, yes.
Why can Vishim bend temper?
It's part of her powers. I gave it to her. Because temper is the source of all the power in the world. So you give her the ability to bend it to her will. Better than any forge.
Does that mean you have an unlimited source of temper yourself?
Think about it this way, Lorshik. You have essence for magic, and or essence for life, and you have arcane for magic. Okay? I exist as a raw state of magic. I am arcane. Literally. So I don't have access to essence myself. But you know who has access to essence? She does. So I give her the raw power of pure arcane, and that gives her the ability to manipulate it. I can't be temper, because I am not both. All of us were one or the other, except for him. He was both.
Void.
And that's what made him so powerful. So, I can only imbue my chosen with certain powers. And I chose that she can manipulate temper at will. Because I believe it fits. And I believe that she has a purpose that way. And the possibilities are infinite.
I have but one more thing to ask of you.
Okay.
You gave me this compass to find a Soulforged, which leads me to believe it is actually pointing towards arcane magic. Is it possible to find some way or create some way for us to find new sources of temper? We're in desperate need of more temper, and we know of where some is, but it's only one ball, and we will eventually run out, but more will help our cause.
The problem is sources of temper are limited to what fell thousands of years ago. So everything that you have is all there is. Everything you've seen, it's all there is. There are no more meteors. They've all been dug up. The only place that has a vast majority, actually most in the world, is where you were when this all started. And surprisingly, as far as I remember, the location of my mother.
Is your mother in Nilhund, or is your mother in the other dimension where the temper is stored?
No, she's there. She has to be. That's where he chained her. She's not in the extra dimension. She's there. But I believe the person that was closest to her was, unfortunately, my father.
I turn to the group and say, it feels as though we should discreetly inform Stanislava that we need to get a new place for the warbands. They've been made. And we need to get Cheslet and Vashim to someplace safe but together. Preferably away from Solson.
Seems like obviously going back to the war bands and reuniting Cheslet and Vajim and checking on Solson is our best first course of action. And then quickly moving to Silham and finding, and then turns to trusted sister and says, what was your brother's name?
My brother?
your brother in Siltime?
We just called him the first brother. That's is what he was called forever.
Yes, we should deal with things in the war bands and then move to find the first brother.
Presumably, First Brother will be near a center of power in Sultan. Which means we will be going back to
Irelis.
Whitehall? Irelis.
Which means that Loershik's coins will be safe from the Golden Molar.
There's just a look of sadness that comes over my face.
Do not cry. No cry. No be cry. We can find you some chicken nuggies.
Should we head back to Bolo and get back to the warbands as quickly as possible?
Yes, let's.
I awkwardly wave and do like a subtle bow to Trusted Sister and start making my way out back towards Bolo.
She bows back at you guys, and looks at Vidar specifically. She says, "If you need to come back here, the way will be open. You just have to really think about it." And a sort of like portal opens up as you see Bolo setting up his tent still, setting up a bunch of stuff.
Before going through the portal, upon seeing Bolo down there, Vidar turns and says, which button do we turn or push to turn off the protective barriers?
The one labeled shield. But keep in mind, if you do that, anyone that knows where this place is can just come and go. So
We
be it.
collapsed the tunnel above, I believe.
Yes, but what if they found it before then?
Perhaps we should leave the shield
Void.
on, considering we can get back here. We just have to think about it.
We should leave the shield on. Void has been here. Wimbal most likely knows where this is, too.
All right. Are you guys walking through?
We should grab Bolo first this time.
The portal
It's taking us to
Bolo.
Bolo. It's just a quick skip, right?
Yep.
Got it.
So you guys walk through the sheen back into the back in the factory, except this time the sheen doesn't stay. The sheen sort of shrivels out to the outside, and you can now see into the main part of the factory. So if you're looking south of where you guys are, you're looking over this massive underground structure that spans and just goes. You can see like every once in a while there's like a little light on that's just there so that it's just always on, and it goes for miles. And Vidar, you actually can literally you would turn around and you see the work table that you were built on. It's a large slate, like a giant slat of granite on it, perfectly polished to almost a mirror finish. Slab.
Vidar's just going to kind of peek at it, and then, not without even saying anything, but just to himself come to the conclusion that the room isn't anything special, and it was the workmanship that was the real friends we found along the way.
Will you make a perception check for me, Vidar? There's a small metal box sitting on top of the workbench.
Yeah. While I'm peeking in there, I'm just kind of being like, yeah, there's nothing special about this room. Ferald's the real special person. I see it, and I kind of hesitate and pick up the box.
Okay.
And
It's very
open
light.
it.
Surprisingly light. It does appear to be made of metal, but you don't know what kind. And it is very light.
I'm gonna open it and peek inside.
You open it, and a little light on the inside turns on. And you recognize 3 memory chips.
Gonna hold up the box and kind of turn it towards technician. And say, it seems like you're the expert on memory chips, but I would suspect that these ones are not yours.
Let me see.
You go and make an investigation check, technician. As you're looking inside of it, the second it goes into your hand, a small scroll of paper pops out from underneath the lid.
Gonna unscroll it and read.
Give me 1 second.
While this is going on,
Mhm.
I want to be helping Bolo pack his stuff up.
You do? He looks at you and he goes, "You do realize that we have 3 days before we can yeet again, right?"
I begin helping him set up his tent.
He's like, appreciate it. Well,
I'm out of character, but didn't Casimir always carry like 20 heat stones and it was said that we could just use them whenever?
Yeah, Casimir always has a ton on him. They only gave 1 to Bolo.
We took so long with that social encounter earlier. It was basically they're like, well, they got to talk to somebody. It's going to be 3 days. It's okay. Just one yeet stone. That's all they need.
As you're looking over it, technician, you start reading the piece of paper, and it's written in Undercommon, in a very familiar handwriting.
Same handwriting I've been seeing around the forge.
Yep.
What does it say?
It says, "My son, I knew you would come here. I saw it in a vision. I hope that you are awakening each aspect of yourself and you are happy with who you are. I did not mean to withhold these from you, but I have been running." And you can definitely tell that there's like some hesitation because the lines are like really far apart in most of these statements. I have been running for the greater part of 5 years. One day we will reunite. Hopefully I will be standing. But for now, these are the last 3 that I own. The rest, I don't know who took them. But when you find them and you get them all together, I hope that it all comes together for you.
Sorry, I might have. I when I asked this, I just want to double check. This handwriting is similar to what I've seen around the forge, or the handwriting is similar to what I've seen on other discs.
On other discs, it is definitely
Okay.
It's Illisan's handwriting.
Got it. Okay. Vidar, these appear to be for me,
But
which
I
is
kind of
bizarre.
Looked around. Were you created here as well? I guess
have
they
no
did make
idea.
inferior Warforged here also.
Are you gonna look at the
I am
Not so
discs?
standing.
recently.
I am standing in your childhood bedroom. Oops, and I'm just gonna kick something over. Gonna look at the discs.
They are labeled 1, 4, and 13.
Vidar, would you be so kind as to put these in the back of my neck?
Of course. And as he's sliding them in, Vidar kind of feeling the back of his own neck and triple checking to make sure that he also doesn't have the slots for these kinds of things.
You do not. You do not have this. And you put each of them in, and technician takes I think it was like an hour for them to like download and get set. So over the next like 3 hours, you guys are just chilling, watching Rap have his like downloading his information from the Matrix moments. And yeah, you now have 3 more discs.
All right.
Lorishik, you look like you want to say something.
At this point, I've walked back over to the group after helping Bolo set up a tent. Should I send a message back to the warbands, considering Bolo has informed me they only gave him 1 yeet stone?
It would be interesting to know if it is possible to yeet, or even if we can't yeet into here, if we could send messages in and out. It could be possible that we set up a sentry here that can raise and lower the shield for us.
Lorishik, as you're having this conversation, Callum is sort of looking over the edge into the factory, and he just sort of points at you and
Give me 1 second, and I just start walking aimlessly towards nothing. Towards Callum.
right. If you look down there in the corner, there's an exit. It says it in the ancient language. It says exit in the like I swear this place is like 2 miles long. But if we get down there and we get to the far exit, we might be able to exit that way.
I turn to the group and say, Callum has found an exit that we might be able to use to go out a way that perhaps the lizards do not know about.
I assume we're quite a bit
question
deep
is-
underground, but still. It might be outside the shield.
Probably, right? It's like we have nothing better to do for the next potentially 3 days, so perhaps we should explore this exit while technician is downloading for the next 3 hours.
Yeah, because 2 people setting up a tent, that would have only taken.
15 minutes, maybe.
I was going to assume some incompetent nat ones happened somewhere, so 30 minutes. But yeah.
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 Are you guys going to explore the factory? I assume Sabas is
would like
like,
to.
I just want to make a map of this place, I assume, right?
I mean, it depends how far underground it goes, but it may not actually be the greatest idea for her to make a map of this place. She likes to leave references to the surface world to her maps, so they're actually useful.
True.
And
You have no idea
everything
where you
else
are.
so far, and well, not even just that. She could figure out where she was pretty easily. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a guide. She could go back and talk to the frog.
True.
But the main problem is if Sabbath gets grabbed and there's a map to this place, then
You're right. You're right. She's thinking strategically. There you go.
this is one of the few places where she's like, "It's against my nature. It's against my nature. It's against my nature."
I have to resist everything. So you guys begin exploring the factory floor. You get down and there's like these huge conveyor belts and giant stampers and power hammers and pneumatic like hydraulic presses and all sorts of like things that are seized. Everything is basically shut down and not working. Not a bit of rust on anything. It's all like properly like oiled somehow. You're not really sure how. But yeah, eventually after like, I want to say like an hour, you make your way all the way to the corner where the exit sign is. And Vidar, you're able to read it, and it does say exit. Like it's like a big, like sort of painted sign on the edge of the door. And it's actually like a giant metal door that has like a lock, like a turning lock, and then it also has a bar that has to be pulled out from the side as well.
Vidar, do you know how to
Are we
open
able
this?
to- It looks like it might need 2 people to maneuver, but it seems pretty straightforward.
They pull on the metal bar.
Vidar's gonna go after the turny parts.
So as you turn the wheel, a large claw that was inserted into the bar like this starts pulling out like this, and then the heavy metal bar, you pull it, it's heavy, and it was like sort of seized, and you pull it out and it shrieks with that metal on metal scream as you pull it out, and the door sort of it's the door's open now.
Is it dark on the other side? Is it still more factory?
Are you opening the door?
I thought we just did, and you said it was open.
It's unlocked.
Am I confused?
It's unlocked. Door is not opened. There's still a
I
door
opened the
handle you have
door.
to open.
And it turned to jade.
Is someone going to open the door?
Yeah, open the door.
Okay, Vidar, you go to open the door and you pull it, and you feel, you know, that change in air pressure between 2 different areas. It takes you a second, and it pulls back at you, and then eventually it evens out, and you open it, and you're standing above a chasm that is filled with lava. It's basically a cavern that expands for miles and miles and miles. It's just a giant lake of lava. You're standing on a platform that was built out about 50 feet, and then it has like a bunch of support struts on the side, and then directly on the end of it, there's a large pedestal with some sort of console on it.
I'm gonna go look at that thing.
Go make an investigation check. Is anyone else following him or no?
Yeah, I'll walk over with him.
You have no idea.
I wanna take my hammer and just kind of like bump the console with it. Not enough to like damage it, but just like tilting a pinball machine.
The console appears to be bolted down and welded to the floor. So you touching it like that, it doesn't move at all. It's very solidly made. Sabas, what are you doing during all this?
I'm not too sure what I can do during all this. Her main interest would be what she's explored here the last time she was here. We already figured out the shield part, and now it's more of figuring out if things people are interested in, which Tavis does not find interest in this place. Upstairs, sure. In the forge, not as much.
Okay. So she's just sort of chilling by the door.
Yeah, probably just chilling, thinking, looking at a bunch of paper and pen, and just going, "Don't do it, don't do it."
Technician, what are you doing?
Download.
Yo, you are downloading. So, Loershik, you're the only one that hasn't. You're both standing by the console, just chilling.
Can I, if I want to look at the console, it'd be an insight check, or can I
Investigation.
see if there's like, okay, I'll do an investigation check.
Okay. This appears to be a sort of control mechanism for something. You can't really read the language. Vidar's standing there, but a lot of it has sort of malformed because of the standard heat. like the base level of heat that's around is sort of malformed and you can't really read the text on it anymore. There are 3 buttons.
Vidar is also gonna look around and say, unless Sabas, you see anything with your mapping eyes, there's supposed to be an exit in this area, and it appears that we have nowhere to go. So this seems like this is probably the exit somehow.
That would be my guess. I mean, when in doubt, to pull out our pickaxe and goes, well, I mean, we can just start hitting shit.
Do I recognize? So the sign above the door said exit. Do I
It did.
recognize? Callum, can you come and see if you can read any of this text on these
Sure.
buttons?
Let me come take a look. He sort of stands over it and he starts looking it over. Well, it appears the 3 buttons are set to destinations of some sort. I would assume, as long as they're powered. If they don't appear to be powered at the moment. Because when he like puts his head inside the console. Yeah. Not at all. No power.
Callum says that this machine does not have power, but it seems that these 3 buttons each lead to a different destination. As if this is either a portal device or as it would build some type of staircase. Vidar, do you know how we might be able to power this?
Not off the top of my head. It's very possible that this area is simply outside of the protective reaches of the shield, and we can just yeet in and out from here.
Interesting. A bit. About 5 minutes later, Bolo comes walking through the door. Right, what have we got here? I've done a bit of investigation. I was following y'all. And this section is outside the shield. So if you look at it, he like turns around, he like points out the runes that are all around the door. It leads right up to the door, and then not past it. So, what are we looking at? He sort of like waddles over because his muscles are so big. He's just like, right, what is it?
I explained to Bolo what Callum just said and describe the machine and say, thank you, you've been incredibly helpful today.
Right, I think we need to wait till technician wakes up. And then we will try and find a power source, maybe. So I think pressing the buttons right now would probably be a bad idea. Magic's
I
not
agree.
something
But
around.
I do think we should send a message while we're here.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I would send it to Stanislava and maybe get Casimir to... Hold on a second.
Casimir has the sending stone, does he not?
No. I thought Stanislava did.
Okay. So, because last time we talked, Casimir responded on the sending stone. So I want to make sure that you do know for a fact that Stanislava has the stone these days.
No, I don't. But send a word either way.
Perhaps I send it in another language. Bolo, do you know if Stanislava or Casimir understand Abyssal or Vidalcan?
I think they only speak Giant. It's like their main language. You can hear it in their
Do you
accent.
speak Giant?
I don't know. Absolutely not.
Sabas, Vidar, either of you? Okay. Perhaps we could just be more cryptic.
True.
How about we say need to get our 2 VIPs together. Must move refugees and warband away from person of interest as soon as possible. Am I leaving anything out?
I don't think so.
Unless you want to mention that we will be returning as soon as the yeet is charged.
I can do that as well. Sabas, do you think that we should include anything further?
I have nothing I need to send now.
I pull out a sending stone, and into it I say meet.
It begins to glow and vibrate gently.
Must get 2 VIPs together. Need to relocate refugees and warbands away from person of interest. ASAP. Back when Yeatstone charged. Over.
Okay. It shuts down and stops glowing.
Well, doesn't seem like we can do much else until technician is ready. But if we start heading back now, we should be there by the time maybe he wakes up, perhaps? How many chips did you put him in him this time, Vidar?
The container I found had 3.
Probably looking at it another couple hours.
You guys head back and you get back as soon as technician actually awakens, because it took you about an hour and a half to get over there. But that's exploring. You get back. Overall, it's been about 2.5 hours. Basically, a half hour goes past. Technician, you awaken. Everyone's just sort of chilling by Bolo's tent. Probably munching on some beef jerky and stuff.
What did I miss?
You did not miss much. We found a door that is an exit outside of the shield. There's a platform there that needs to be charged and otherwise we can't use.
Do you know what it needs to be charged by?
We're hoping you might know, but if we charge it, Callum believes that it can help us leave without having to yeet.
I can take a look. Show me this platform.
Do we, while we're back by technician, do we see any consoles that might look similar that are charged? Because we saw in this like 2-mile long factory before, there was tons of devices, tons of panels, etc., and so on.
Yep.
So there are
there are similar consoles, but they're all like power monitoring and other things that do other jobs essentially.
If possible, technician, we might want to investigate some of these other consoles here to see how they're being powered, because it's about an hour walk from where we are. I'd hate to have to keep going back and forth.
Okay, Rep is going to investigate some of the panels.
Okay.
But I have a hunch they're all integrated into a central power system.
Which, yeah, go ahead. Go make an investigation check, please. It's fucking 19. You're looking it over, and yeah, they're all integrated into a main power system that is run by a geothermal vent somewhere else in the factory. You can tell that a lot of the wings have been turned off with your investigation. You've looked into it, and in the paneling, there's like a bunch of different switches that you have to pull in order to get power to specific areas. And with that, you actually find that, unfortunately, you have to turn on the factory floor in order to turn power onto that console.
In order to power the console, we must power the factory. In order to turn on that console, we must power the factory floor.
I look up to the red light that we saw when the sheen went away, because there was apparently a blinking red light. I point to it and ask, does anyone know what that red light is for?
Was that red light blinking there when I was built? Do I remember this?
You do not remember this.
How far away is the red light from where we currently are, roughly?
It's about a third of the way toward the exit sign.
We might want to go make sure that light is not a camera or some other monitoring device that people have left behind.
All right,
Cameras.
Rep will go investigate the red light.
Go ahead.
We follow because I follow at least.
Okay. You get to where the red light is, and it's just blinking over the top of this sort of weird machine with a very large pull handle on it. Reminiscent of the old school power switches that when you pull them up, they go between two prongs, and then that puts power through it.
This appears to be the main breaker. If I move this lever, it is very likely the factory will turn on. Please, stand clear of the machines. Please, stand clear of the machines.
I
Back the
stand
hell
clear
up.
of the machines.
All right, gonna throw the toggle.
Okay, you. The second you pull it, a massive amount of sparks fly all over you guys. They're harmless overall, but section by section, starting from where you came in, all the way to the exit, you see a as all of the lights turn on in the factory. None of the machines are turning on, but all the lights are turned on. And as you're looking around and you're looking at it, the scale of this place is not what you thought it was. The factory is not just built on the floor. It is three-dimensional. Every single cubic foot of this place has been used for something. There is a machine or a process that has been built into this place that if you were to look at it and actually populate it, it would take 2,000 people to run this factory at any given moment. And there are no Warforged bodies. There are no parts. This factory floor has been cleaned and shined and oiled to a degree that it genuinely scares you that there's nothing down here.
I have surmised I am missing time. Approximately 3 hours, 12 minutes. During that time, did you and Vidar, and possibly Savis, pick this place clean?
Yes, absolutely. No, we didn't pick this. What?
There is suspiciously nothing here. It is a fair question.
I mean, it's
I will not
been
apologize for a fair
dormant for
question.
thousands of years, right?
Not in its current state of maintenance. I know you are not mechanically inclined. However, when you lubricate machines, even over time they will simply collect dust on the lubricant, forming a very thick black sludge.
So you think that Void might have been here and making a Soulforged?
Either someone has been actively maintaining these machines, or they are maintained by magic, or some other process. Possibly.
There is a giant magic shield. I would not be surprised if that was magically maintained.
Detect magic, identify, investigate. What do you think?
Any of those.
All
It's
right,
up to you.
we're going to abuse my investigation bonus. Here we go.
Sure. As you're looking over everything, the worst part is he rolled a 3. It's still a 14. You're looking over everything, and there's definitely like gigantic arcane runes carved into like every single piece of machinery and everything on this floor. It's all enchanted somehow. It's all literally every single piece of machinery in this place has temper in it. All of them.
I feel like if you're gonna put a bit of lava, make a fancy lava and brass display, you're gonna enchant your machines so they don't fucking break.
Yeah.
Like, there's a list of priorities here.
Never mind. It appears they are maintained magically.
Bolo
Makes
actually
sense.
walks over and he's like, so, hear me out. I have an idea. And he sort of pulls out like this really large Bowie knife from his pocket, or from his like holster that he has on his hip. And he just goes, boom, he slams it into like one of the casings on the machine. And it literally like dents it really bad. And then all of a sudden you hear a very loud crinkling like metal noise as it straightens itself out again. He just looks at you guys. He goes, right.
That's
I'm
That'll
not
be good for
I'm not
the-
the only one that saw that, right?
no.
No, that Bolo, that is literally what I just said. The machines are
I'm just-
maintained magically.
I'm just verifying. Calm down.
No, I am not angry.
Imagine it's very
This
stressful.
is not my angry face.
I mean, I don't even read the language or nothing, but maybe we should go check the pedestal, right?
I agree. Also, I applaud you on your application of the scientific method.
Oh, thank you. He sort of grins
least-
with his really, really wide face.
You have remembered the four most important words in science. Fuck about, find out.
True. Those are actually my favorite 4 words in the entire world.
As we're making our
mean-
way to this, like another 45 minutes, I say to technician, you don't have to talk about it, but have you remembered anything new?
I'm not sure yet.
Unclear. Yeah, 45 minutes later, you guys reach the door. Now that you can actually see what you're doing, it actually cuts it down to about a half an hour, because you were basically walking in pure darkness. And you're able to make it over fairly quickly. And you can see that the door itself has like a bunch of runes on the outside that were glowing. Right. So are you pressing a button or what are we doing?
Technician, you wouldn't by chance be able... Is there a way... I'm confused, technician. Honestly, if the rest of the factory is magically maintained, but this section isn't, but this section is still powered by the main power source, why did the text on these buttons not get magically maintained too? And I point to what Callum was unable to read.
Buttons are not magic, they are science.
But they're also,
Also, they're not toys.
they're also outside the shield. Remember. They're probably outside whatever enchantment maintains the factory.
So, Rep is going to start explaining magic theory to Lorachik at a sort of basic level, but the broad strokes, fields. Magic deals with fields very generally. Sometimes that field is localized to a single object, occasionally it's localized to an area, blah, blah, blah.
So you're saying that if we can extend the shield, even temporarily, to this device, it would fully repair itself, and we don't have to blindly guess where this machine might take us.
Hypothetically, but it would require us reversing the polarity on the interocitor.
That's made up.
Whatever that means. I trust him. I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Travis is going to look at
Technician,
there and
are
go,
you
you made that
able-
up, didn't you?
Have we found the retro turbo encabulator yet?
I will push you in the
Point to the
lava.
runes. Technician, can you
I will take a
move
look.
those runes from the door frame and bring them beyond the machine?
I suspect it might be easier to move the door frame.
It's actually true. If you look at it, it's not even riveted. It's just screwed on. He pulls out like a little screwdriver.
So Rep is going to start walking back over to the door frame and motioning for Lorachik to come with them and saying, you know, a lot of people invest in door locks for security, but the reality of it is doors are only as strong as the walls they're attached to. And then he's just going to sort of motion towards the wall and sort of imply, hit this with your hammer.
Before I hit with my hammer, I just try to use my strength to pull the door frame off of the wall.
Go and make an athletics check, please.
I mean, I feel offended as a minor action that the one with the pickaxe that is a minor is not going to be offered to break the wall.
You actually pull on the door and it's solid. It's definitely on there. And Bolo just sort of looks at you. He's like, I've got a tool that lets us unscrew it off the hinges from the inside.
Sabas, we might need you to break through this wall. You have a pickaxe.
Can we let Bolo go first?
I mean, I'm just saying.
I gesture to let Bolo do it.
I literally have a tool.
And then when he's trying to do the stop screw ones because he's so short, I just pick him up by his legs and kind of hold him up.
He just looks at you and laughs very, very loudly as he's like, he can't help but laugh. He's like, oh my God, I appreciate you. You're great. He's like sort of getting the top ones. And it's like a load of screws that are like basically mounted deep into the wall. And as soon as he hits the last one, you hear a loud as the door sort of falls off the hinges and just sort of stands there perfectly centered. He's like, right. We don't want to put it down. We just want to push it that way. Push it out of the way.
I push it out of the way.
Make an athletics check, please. Yeah, you push on the door and it just goes. And the funniest part is as soon as it hits the ground, you hear that sort of metal, like aluminum foil sound of like metal crinkling, and you can see that the bridge is like actively repairing itself to the edge of the door.
Can you guys help me move the door? It seems to be, the spell seems to be attached to this door. If we just bring it to the end of the platform, even temporarily, it might work. I try to pick up one side.
Yeah, Savas will help.
Go and make an athletics check at advantage, please.
Here it is.
Oh, still 18. Oh yeah. You guys, the both of you sort of pick up the door, and it's awkward. It's definitely weighted differently inside than it is outside. Almost mercurial in fashion, where it just sort of feels like it has liquid on the inside of it. And you pull it all the way to the console, and the console just repairs itself. It literally goes like repairs itself. And
The console is repaired. Is it powered? It looks powered.
it looks powered to me.
Do we just
Are
stand it up
the
here for now?
buttons labeled?
The buttons are labeled, and Vidar, you're sort of looking at them. And one of them says, I'm going to message it to you. Where are you? It's been forever since we've talked, Bisbee. Holy shit.
Okay, Bisbee.
It says, here's what they say.
Vidar is gonna kind of look at all the buttons and kind of like look around, like very confused. And he's going to point to the middle one and say, "This one says sure, but that's awfully vague."
Shore as in
Even
beach
more
or shore as in like sure?
As in beach. But
Are
even
you
more
sure?
confusingly, Vidar just ignores that. This button on the right says cloud. I'm not sure what use we would have going to a cloud or how stable it would be once we arrive there.
That might have sped up my download.
But even more concerning is this button on the left. It says eternal vision. And it has been
As
quite
in,
some time, I assume, since anyone has been there and lived.
but
As
that
in,
would
yes,
be
eternal vision.
the moon.
Correct.
To the moon?
Perhaps it means a nice field with a great view, or perhaps it means something more impressive.
The tallest cloud. Uh, do we want to go to the moon?
I am allowed to vote here, right? Bolo says from behind you guys.
Yeah, probably.
I think we should put the door back, first of all. Second of all, we should not go to the moon. I'm just throwing it out there.
We definitely cannot ensure our survival if we go to the moon.
Because we also don't know if it's just going to
Some of
teleport us
us.
right away, if it's going to open a portal, if that portal is two-way.
It sounds really interesting, though.
Don't get me wrong, I am curious as hell, right? We're all curious, we're all confused, but hitting that left button sounds like a terrible idea.
What could be wrong with the moon? I don't think there's anything wrong with being up there.
The legends are that the moon is where souls go once you have died.
Fascinating.
Ah, you are implying that by pressing the button to go to the eternal vision, we are sent to meet our makers and go to the eternal vision.
It is possible it is a metaphor, or it is possible that if we go there, even alive, we quickly become dead.
The problem is we don't know nothing.
I start dragging the door back to its previous position.
That best will help.
Yeah,
Who would-
you two grab it and you start dragging it back.
Who would build a one-way transportation system?
I mean,
The
think
sign did say exit. and
about
not
it.
entrance.
Think about it, right? You're 4-old Forge Master. You're literally the most powerful crafter of all time. Literally a god. Walking god on whatever, how many feet he's got. He's probably got 2 feet. Who fucking knows? Right? Why wouldn't you build a portal to hell? Or heaven? Or both? And then whatever the shore is, on the cloud. Why would you not do it? You've got the ability to do it. And did you see the fucking lock on this door? There was a big lock, right?
I did not.
It is a big lock. When we put the door back on, does it auto repair itself into its frame?
It does.
It might be interesting that he would build a portal to the eternal vision. Legends used to say that the tears of gods came from the eternal vision, and that the eternal vision was crying, and that was the tears. Those tears were often temper. He may have had a direct line of source of temper from the eternal vision.
That would explain a lot about you, mate. Wouldn't it? Look at him.
I don't recall ever being at the eternal vision. I may just be from randomly collected earth temper.
True. Terrestrial temper, as they say.
Are you suggesting that the Eternal Vision's tears are meteors that landed on this planet?
That is the legends and the lore.
I think we should make someone cry. But maybe not today.
I was going to say, let's not do it now, but we could do it later.
You wish to shoot the moon?
I mean,
Ba, 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 ba.
so we have about 2 days or so until Bolo here can get us home. We have options. We could test what happens when we press a button. Does anyone... I've seen other arcane users be able to summon a hand away from them. Can anyone here do something? So maybe a long stick.
I
I
can
could
do a neat
probably
trick
just
with a
throw a
rope.
rock at it.
I think we should just leave it alone. Maybe come back another time. Do it then. We got more pressing matters, right? You do, obviously.
We have more pressing matters that we can't attend to for 48 hours.
If it were not for the Eternal Vision button, I might assume that the other two were literal, but I'd have no idea. Perhaps the shores are a shore of a place we do not want to be.
Can I do an investigation check around the panels surrounding this console to see if I
Sure.
see any schematics similar to what we saw for the war machine or whatever?
Sure. You're looking around, and the only thing on this platform that you notice, as you get closer, is like on the other side of the pedestal. There's a large, divot, engineered into the platform that appears to have some sort of like something lay inside of it, like a small, sort of carved indentation. Like if you were to put a bike tire in there, it'd fit perfectly.
Technician,
But for a
Can you
really,
come
really
and-
big wheel.
you come look at this divot that I have found. Perhaps this divot indicates that there is a rounded device that would sit here, which would create a portal. And
Are
we
you
can
making
safely
fun of
press
me?
a button. Yes. Are you catching on?
Well played. All right, so I'm going to investigate the divot.
Sure. It doesn't appear to house anything physical. It doesn't appear
Fascinating.
there's no signs of like latches or anything that would actually like hold something that would just lay in it, you know, because there would be signs of that kind of thing elsewhere.
Is the divot slightly reflective, sort of like a convex surface would be?
Yes. It's concave.
Okay. Lorchik, come here. Look, observe closely.
I put my eyeballs like an inch away from what he's pointing at.
More closely. What do you see?
I see a divot. Rep.
I see the person that figured out this houses an ethereal wheel and one asshole.
I stand up and start walking back across the bridge to the door and say, perhaps we should spend our next 48 hours investigating this massive factory, and perhaps there's something here that can help us to understand more about Technician and Vidar. Maybe why Technician is such a dick.
And with that,
Did
what's up?
Did I hurt your feelings, Lorchik? Max volume. Did I hurt your feelings, Lorchik?
I just give him like the finger over my shoulder as I walk away.
I was told you were cold-blooded. I was not aware you had feelings. Where do you keep them?
Wow. And with that brutality, we're going to end this episode of Soulforged. We'll come back to the second part of the factory and going potentially somewhere else. So, yeah, we will talk to you guys next week. Have a good weekend. Everyone stay safe, do the right thing. And we will see you hopefully next Tuesday. Yeah. Bye.
Next session on cabin fever.
Yeah.